Because I grew up in Russia in a small town and we were very poor, my family, so we only had sweets for holidays. And that was not part of the staple. Like during the week or during like the days, the regular days, I didn't have anything sweet at all. Like my girlfriends would have like moms with like different lovers and boyfriends, and they would always bring sweets, and my girlfriend would always invite me. She's like, "Oh, we have all these cakes, come over." I would run to my friend's house to have some sweets because at my house we had nothing. So I grew up on a very savory diet like this, to which I am very, nowadays that I'm realizing that I'm like so grateful for that, because I didn't have that ability, to have sugar on a daily basis. And also that, that helped me to develop, a lower tolerance for sugar.
Today we have the pleasure of hosting Ella Davar, longevity and gut health dietitian. She's also a TED speaker, published author, and founder of Gut Brain Method, 9-week course for shaping you into masterpiece without dieting. Hope you enjoyed this episode in which we discuss Ella's journey and listen to her insightful take on one of the most important things we cannot live without, and that is, of course, food. Ella, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure having you. I'm so glad you found time to come see us so we can talk about a lot of stuff. I have a lot of ideas, especially your area of expertise. I'm always thinking of, since I was growing up, one thing that fascinated me the most, and actually I have to admit I'm addicted to it, it's sugar.
Oh,
When I say
thank
sugar,
you
what's
for
the first thing
admitting
comes to your mind?
Yeah, you're not the only one. It is an addictive substance. And I don't know, tell me more about your addiction because you're very skinny. But it's not a determination of health very often. If you call it an addiction, I would have to like define it with you first, because everyone's different and it means different things for people. But yeah, it's how old were you when you first realized
I think
that
it's just
you're
feeding us. And my mom, or whoever they're buying is chocolate. Me and my sister were extremely addicted to chocolate, and then chocolate. I can still fight with her. She has even bigger time fighting with it because she's female and it takes, she likes sweets. So when we were kids, I'm eating, I eat a little bit and she's like trying to eat not more than me. So to make sure we all have the same amount. So it was always a fight. But my mom and my dad, they also had the same thing. Chocolate. They like
But
sweets.
tell me more, how often? Every day?
Every day. We had a lot of chocolate.
wow.
A lot of chocolate. And I don't know if it's that, my family or something. Let's say my mom's sister, she has a son, and they're only eating salty stuff. So
Yeah.
they're eating salty. He doesn't eat chocolate. We buy him
Well,
chocolate.
I'm sorry to say that, but you sound like a second generation American because I grew up in Russia in a small town and we were very poor, my family, so we only had sweets for holidays. And that was not part of the staple. Like during the week or during like the days, the regular days, I didn't have anything sweet at all. Like my girlfriends would have like moms with like different lovers and boyfriends, and they would always bring sweets, and my girlfriend would always invite me. She's like, "Oh, we have all these cakes, come over." I would run to my friend's house to have some sweets because at my house we had nothing. So I grew up on a very savory diet like this, to which I am very, nowadays that I'm realizing that I'm like so grateful for that, because I didn't have that ability, to have sugar on a daily basis. And also that, that helped me to develop, a lower tolerance for sugar. But with you, what's going on? Your mother really loved you.
Yeah, they're trying to keep us happy.
Yeah.
If you're eating chocolate and a lot of sugar, and then you get
Did you grow up in a big city?
It's a small village I grew up first, and then,
How do you have all that
But
chocolate?
it was
there?
chocolate. I don't know. We didn't have a lot of money or
Yeah,
anything, but it was just kind of where chocolate was like the main thing. Chocolate. They're trying to buy us chocolate and sweets.
Okay.
But I never thought about it as a bad thing until I moved here and I'm trying food.
In the village that I grew up, we ate a piece of bread with like butter and sugar on it, or honey. That would be my dessert.
It's still, that was my question.
Yeah.
Coming to US and everything's sweet. When you
Yeah.
try some stuff, everything's sweet from.
And it's everywhere. Sugar is added to so many things. Like even when I became a dietitian, I've had so many epic fails. Like I would buy fish, and it's one of the recommendations that I give to my clients: omega-3 proteins, and I would buy this glass container of the jar of canned herring, and I would be and I bought it at Whole Foods, one of the top magazines, or like a stores for healthy foods, and then you come home and you start eating it, and it's full of sugar, and then you look at the ingredient list, it's like 20 grams of sugar per serving, which is, if you compare it to a candy, it's just as much. And that's in fish. Forget the salad dressings and all of the sauces and all the other
It's, I
additives.
mean, a lot of people are suffering from, being overweight.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. You know, I'm assuming that people coming to you mostly for advice to lose weight. What's the most common thing, or to be healthier? What's the main thing?
Mostly weight loss. That's when people start thinking about nutritionist and a dietitian. But these days, it's a lot of gut health issues. Everyone feels bloated after eating, or people have low energy or skin issues, and people are educated enough to know that this stems from their gut health, and this is somehow relates to the function of their digestion and how they're not only eating but also how they're absorbing and how they're able to metabolize the foods and the nutrients. And this is when they come to me, because I'm not just doing the nutrition education, I also specialize in gut health.
So gut health. How many people are having issues gut health? If you can have a percentage of.
Statistically, I mean, every other person in America is dieting for one reason or another, but more and more people having gut health issues because of, it's just such a complex issue, especially when we had the pandemic, and masks and sanitizers became a thing, and all the healthy bacteria were being wiped out. Also, antibiotic use and all the non-prescription drugs that are sold over the counter that people just swallow to fall asleep, the painkillers, all of those things are ruining your gut microbiome. And with that, we develop allergies, autoimmunity, a skin issue, and people don't connect that. How can something that I buy at the drugstore to solve one thing can create actually other things for me, right? And this is where I come in to connect it all and to see how all of these things affect gut health. And most Americans here, they grew up, buying painkillers and swallowing them, or NyQuil is like,
That's
like a cup of
medicine
tea every day.
Yeah, because it's
Why not?
Let's say I got sick, so I wanted to buy some Dayquil or NyQuil.
Yeah.
It's empty shelves. Every time you go to buy, there's no Dayquil and NyQuil. Empty shelves everywhere. So people are buying that. C vitamin also, when someone gets sick, you can't buy C vitamins in the store. It's just one of them, because you can't get antibiotics unless you have insurance. People will see a doctor. But what I noticed also, a lot of people in U.S. have allergies.
Yeah.
Like nut allergy,
Very
or
prevalent.
gluten allergy. And in Serbia, only thing I knew was like probably someone has penicillin allergy, or someone gets stung by bees, so they have allergy. That's the only thing. And here, just learning new allergies about, what do you think? What's the cause?
It all comes from the microbiome. The way people, it's just such a, tricky questions, because it stems from the childbirth, the C-section versus natural. This all creates an exposure to natural bacteria when we're little. And then as we grow up, the foods that we eat, the exposure that we have, those kids that are somewhat like us, who grow up in the nature, that have access to animals or outdoors, the soil, they develop, their immune system is exposed to all these bacteria naturally, and it develops the immune system more intensely and strongly, versus those who grew up in the cities where things are sterilized, where everything is, sterilized with the hand sanitizers, right? And those kids, they don't develop the strong immune system, and that's where their body starts to attack itself when it recognizes a certain protein versus whether it's from nuts or from seeds, and starts to attack that. And most of these things are developed, like I said, from the gut microbiome.
And it's the kind of new thing. I asked older Americans, like, when did it start happening? They're like, oh, probably in the 80s or something like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't know exact statistics, but definitely autoimmunity and allergies are on the rise, especially with kids. In my industry, I've attended so many conferences, how they educate now. How you go to the restaurant and every staff member would come to you before he takes the order. Is there any allergies at the table?
Yeah, it's
Everyone's
a common thing.
educated. There's a whole, education about the staff members. Anyone who works with food should be aware of how other people might be allergic, and it's partially your responsibility that you didn't ask and you hurt this person, right? So all of these things are on the rise. The awareness is on the rise, and it's all been developing in the last
It's just
10, 20 years.
awareness of how to not hurt people. How do you stop that from happening more and more? How do you
And
stop it?
these are the things that not a lot of people talk about, because there's the interconnectedness, but there's hope. that I give people, that if you fix your gut microbiome, there's hope that you could improve.
So people can actually, if they're allergic to some stuff, if they start working on their on getting better, feeling healthier, fixing their gut problems, they can
Yes.
actually lose allergies or whatever issues they have.
Improve. I'm the example of that. When I was very sick, 2019, I took some antibiotics, and then I took more because it wasn't helping. And then a month later, I developed an allergy. I had like skin rashes all over me. Guess what? Because antibiotics wiped the entire microbiome, because they kill antibiotics, they're anti-life, they kill the gut-friendly bacteria. With that, I ended up at allergist, and it was ridiculous. So many allergies I had, and then after a while, I focused on, instead of taking the antihistamine medication, right, and call it a day. This is how I deal with my allergies. I healed my own gut, and since then I've never taken antihistamine medications.
And that's people are always rushing right now. No one has time for anything. Everyone wants something quick. You can see online, on Instagram, everywhere, pre-cooked meals for next 7 days, 5 days. For me, it's not that attractive. I mean, if you cook something fresh, I think it's different from making stuff. So is there everyone trying to find a life hack in 10, 15 seconds, minute, 2 minutes? What's the, like some quick recipes or quick meals you can do? So if you're busy, what do you recommend? So you still kind of eat healthy.
First starts with the attitude, right? The attitude is like, why even bother, right? If you can order takeout, DoorDash, so quick and easy, why even get messy in the kitchen, right? I always teach my clients how it's an act of love. You know how everyone's talking about self-care, mindful living, mindful eating, and it starts with that decision, how you just said how important it is to have a freshly made meal. And this, instead of getting a manicure or massage or whatever you call what's self-love for you?
Self-love. Oh my God, massage is definitely that's you got the right spot.
All right, but massage is something that you schedule, and it's like once a month, twice a month, right? But this is something that you can do on a daily basis, and it's an act of self-love, self-respect to cook a quick meal for yourself, right? And once you made that decision, you go in, and I tend to educate my clients on focusing on having vegetables and proteins at every meal. So proteins are easy. Everyone knows what they are. They're very delicious, whether it's, your grass-fed meat or fresh fish. Frozen is fine, that you can defrost it and cook, which is my go-to because it's so quick and easy. And then some vegetables. Ideally green leafy vegetables or any colorful vegetables, and obviously some starch. Again, starch is easy. A lot of people default to either like pasta or rice, but it's my job to say it's a balance. It's very important that you are consuming antioxidant and fiber-rich vegetables to support your metabolism.
So everyone has a different idea about. Some people get up later, some people get up way earlier. So you have to balance. Everyone has specific diet to themselves, so they probably work with you on that. So how does your diet look like? How does your day with eating and meals, how does that look like?
Oh, what a great question. So I walk my talk, for sure. I love my job because it's not something that I just talk about. It's something that I live, and on a daily basis, I create all these hacks for myself, and this is what I communicate to my clients. Usually, I get up with sunrise. I never set an alarm, and once the sun's up, I'm also up around 7 a.m., and then I drink a lot of water, do some stretches, yoga, and then in the kitchen, I usually drink green tea, matcha, high antioxidants, matcha that supports metabolism, and then depends on where I am on the cycle. So sometimes I could do a smoothie, like a collagen blueberry smoothie, which keeps me energized and satiated. And if I'm in my second phase of my cycle, it's got to be like eggs, it's got to be like bread or log salmon or avocado, something heavier and more satiating. And then for lunch, it's usually a salad or some leftovers from dinner, like some kind of a steak and some vegetables. For dinner after office, I usually cook some fish, like a quick olive oil, lemon, capers mix with some fish, and also some veggies, whether it's bok choy, kale. Those are my go-tos.
You work on it all the time, so it probably changes, fluctuates over during the week, right? You don't want to be eating the same thing all over again. Some people actually, it's popular, they do intermittent fasting, they do a carnivore diet, omnivore,
Yeah.
whatever is it. What are your thoughts on
I
that?
love intermittent fasting. I love how it's actually natural. You know how when the sun goes down, everything in nature slows down. Like the flowers close, the animals disappear, everything just gets ready for rest and recovery for the next day. And that's what intermittent fasting is to me about, is that we should stop eating ideally when the sun goes down and start preparing for rest and recovery. Or at least build on, the overnight sleep. When you're sleeping for whether it's 7 to 8 hours and avoiding food 3 to 4 hours before, and that creates at least of 12 hours of gap from one meal to another, from dinner to breakfast, and that gives your body a chance to recover, to digest, to slow down your heart rate, which has tremendous amounts of benefits on your overall lifespan and your ability to have more energy the next day.
So, I mean, we grew up with a lot of meat. That's what, at least in Serbia, is meat.
Yeah.
Of course, if you can't afford, but meat is always somehow, we always had it. And just the thought, I mean, learning here that people are vegan, vegetarian,
Yeah.
Presbyterian, whatever they're eating. So, what are your thoughts on that? Can you actually be vegan and actually be healthy? And can you get all the nutrients you need from veggies?
Yeah. So I specialize in personalized nutrition approach, and I truly believe that this is the future of my field. That there's, the first book on diet was written 100 years ago. And 100 years later, with all the nutrition science advances, we're still arguing. There's so many doctors that are pro keto and pro paleo, or maybe not so many about carnivore, but like paleo, yeah. And then there's so many people defending veganism and how this is going to solve all of our environmental problems. And why do you think that is? That we've been asking this question for 100 years, what is the best diet for humans? And we're still disagreeing on all of that. And what my take on that is that we're asking the wrong question. It's not what's the best diet for humans, it's what is the best for specific humans, and it really depends on you. I'm someone who, I don't eat a vegan diet, but I know people who are thriving on it, right? And I have tremendous amount of respect for them, because it requires a lot of nutrition education. It's very hard to get, from nutrition science perspective, it's very hard to get all nutrients from vegetables alone, and they require supplementation. For me, this is not a sustainable approach to living. If your diet requires, some concentrated doses of supplements, yeah, I'd rather get it from food. Ideally, I'd rather balance my diet and get it from food. So yeah, that's my take on veganism.
What's your take on supplementation?
I am very particular about it. I am pro supplements, right? Because I specialize in high performance and longevity, and there's so much science now on it. And it really depends on the person, on your lifestyle. If you're someone who travels a lot and goes through, stressful situations and challenges, even travel, that's a challenge for your body because you're exposed to so much. You may need more than an average person that just like lives on an island and lives a stress-free life. I don't know if you know what I'm referring to when I say live on an island. There's a research on the blue zones, people who live above 100 years old, and those are mostly people who live on islands in Greece, in Italy, in Japan, and they all live above 100 years old. And some researchers say that we should, learn from them. They don't take any supplements, and I'm like, that's great. But like my clients don't live on an island. They live a different lifestyle, and they need extra support for their adrenals, for their mitochondria, and for their gut,
It's also affected with stress and living in a
Yes.
high-paced environment. And what kind of food are you getting? It's not fresh food.
I would say I'm very minimalistic about supplements. I always try to provide as much nutrition education as possible to avoid certain supplements. For example, probiotics and omega-3, easy to get it from food, but you have to be very strategic about your intake. Or if you're not, then you should supplement. I don't supplement with those two because, like I said, I'm getting it from food. But yeah, and I also tell about supplements. You have to be very careful of the quality of the supplements, because remember, it's an unregulated industry. Anyone can create a supplement line and market it to you. there's so many brilliant minds in marketing right now, so you have to be very careful and know where it comes from, third party tested for purity and quality, because it's still a highly concentrated dose, and there's so many like toxins that you can be ingesting if you know without if you don't know where it comes from.
Definitely. So when you're preparing food, and let's say me, for example, use a personal example. So when you're trying to make something, oh, I don't have this in my fridge. You know, I'm too lazy. I need to go get this, and that. I'm missing. And people recommending stuff. You don't even know what half of the thing is. You're healthy. You know, you have to educate yourself. Then people just, yeah, it's fine. I can't do it. It's too complicated.
Yeah.
So, do you have any? Do you recommend to people? Actually, let me put it this way. What's in your fridge?
I just recorded a YouTube video of where when I bring a team from like a TV crew to my house, and I show them what I keep in my fridge and in my pantry. So I keep a lot of vegetables, and when I cook, I keep it very simple. You know, I just very functional. So I know what I need, right? I need to make sure I eat fiber and antioxidants every day to support my metabolism. So I always make sure I eat some vegetables for that. And then I need some healthy fats and healthy protein. So I want to make sure that my meal is made out of those ingredients. Everything else is extra versus, I mean, whether it's for flavors or for fun, like some dessert, right? So in my fridge, you'd find a lot of berries, a lot of vegetables, mostly green, some colorful. If you want, I can name a few, and a lot of proteins.
So greens are important, definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know in Russia, but in Serbia, we drink a lot of coffee, Turkish coffee, to be example. People here drink American coffee, and as soon as you wake up in the morning and you kind of drink coffee, I stopped. I drink tea only right now. I stopped like 5 years ago. I drink a lot of coffee. So how bad is it for your gut health? I always thought when you drink coffee first thing in the morning, if people wake up and first thing you go in, you make a cup of coffee.
Again, not for everyone, right? It's not like a panacea for everyone, but for most people, especially for those who have sensitive digestion, definitely do not recommend drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Ideally, you want to wake up and you want to hydrate with a glass of water, and then you should eat something. Whether even if it's something small, yeah, like yogurt, but it has to be something with fats and proteins that helps to balance out the acidity of coffee. Because coffee is not only high caffeine beverage, but it's also highly acidic. And some people, it's very triggering, and it's also damaging over time. If you do that, and I know a lot of people in New York who just like don't have any breakfast and have Red Bull and coffee for breakfast.
That doesn't sound good.
So, yeah, and that's the most damaging thing you could do.
Walk me through one of your success stories that you had with all your patients.
Oh, so many.
Pick just one, just for the sake of conversation.
What I love about my job is how I change people, but most importantly from their behavioral standpoint. Like I had this guy who comes into me. He's like, I have to have sugar. I have to have cookies. I'm a CEO of a bank. I go into the meetings and all these people are looking at me like they want my energy. They want ideas from me, and I have to like tell them what to do. And I have to have a cookie before the meetings, like to give me the boost, right?
Coming back to the sugar part.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay. And then we work together on his goals, and his goal is to have natural energy and to slow down aging. And then I meet the guy, a couple of months later, because I do programs for a few sessions. And what happened? He doesn't eat cookies anymore. Why not? Raspberries do it for me. They align with my goals. I'm like, okay, so what? It's the same person, but suddenly I wish I could put those two together. Or I had people when I worked on the research project at Icahn School of Medicine, I was working with low-income people, right? And you would think I had like two mothers. No, one was a mother and one didn't have children. One had like 5 and one didn't have. Both of them were complaining to me how they didn't have time. And you think they're completely two different profiles, right? But they all had like a lack of time. And one of them was like, I don't do cauliflower. I don't do broccoli. That's just gross. I can't do this. I don't like the taste. And then the same person comes back later and says to me, you know what? I gave it a try. It wasn't that bad. And what happened? The person stopped drinking Coke. She stopped drinking Coca-Cola because that was oversaturating her taste buds, right? And then when she stopped, she suddenly developed a different palate for taste. Suddenly, vegetables that are not as intense in flavor are tasting much better. And what changed? right? It's the same person, but she completes it. She's like, you know what? I gave it a try. And for me, those are the types of wins. And then, of course, they lose weight, they've developed six-pack and all those things that they wanted. But when I hear this, I was like, I wish I could like record you and put the two of you together just to see like, and it's the same person, but the transformation that happened for them, that is going to stay with them for the rest of their life.
A lot of my friends, when they go travel somewhere else, Europe or some different countries, they come back here and they say food tastes differently.
I know.
Does it actually taste different?
Does. It
What's
does.
the reason?
Processing.
So that's the main reason.
Yeah. When I studied nutrition or food science at NYU, we had scientists from Italy. They were flying in and explaining us the difference in gluten processing here. So here, gluten is actually, because gluten is a protein that keeps things together when it comes to like, the baked product. And the processing here is much more advanced, the way they do things here. And it's mostly like profit focused versus in Europe, it's more quality focused. And there's certain chemicals and pesticides and herbicides that are banned in Europe just because it's not ideal for human consumption and creates some risk. Here, they're not banned just because it creates more profit. You see what I mean? So like the philosophy behind like food processing and food production is a little bit different. And it affects, Europe is also, it's more tradition driven. People still, they shop at farmers market, and it's a big part of the cultures of like smaller towns. Here, it doesn't exist. Most Americans think that food grows in the supermarket, and they don't have no idea what's behind those plastic, wrapped foods and where it comes from and how. They have no relationship with, because of its, deeply advanced and, processed culture here, like of the fast food. So Europe still has this like tradition that's being cherished more, and it obviously affects the quality and the taste of the produce.
It's a lot of different stuff happen when you move to this country and notice a lot of stuff. Tell me about your cultural shock when you first came, first couple of days, and then how that advanced.
I'll never forget my first meal in New York. I just got off the bus. I took the bus to Penn Station or something, and then we went to some kind of a diner. And for me, the first shock was I wasn't hungry. I ordered soup and a salad. For me, that was a thing, like something to eat. And I realized they were looking at me like, what? And it's not something that most people order. And they bring me this salad that was so gross. It's like I was looking at it and I'm like, is this a DIY salad? Like, do I have to do it myself? It was just like a big chunk of tomato, like around, and then a chunk of lettuce and the cucumbers. Like, do I have to chop it up myself? Because I think, where we come from, everything is, like smaller, bite-sized, like more French cuisine inspired. Yeah, everything was just so big and so like kind of like not cared for as much. Like, here's your salad, just like a big, huge chunk. And it wasn't like, aesthetics or taste driven as much to me. But, I was very young when I moved here. I was 19, so I was all over this culture. And I remember eating all those huge muffins and all those, what do you call it? Frappuccinos,
whatever it is, extra sugar, extra sweet, extra large.
Yeah, I quickly fit in. I went to school here, and I was super. Like at some point I was taking theater classes because it's part of my electives in school. I didn't have any accent because I was just so into the American culture. And then eventually, my parents moved here, and so my friends, I kind of like went back with my accent. But I was very excited at first to fit into the culture and do everything the way they do.
Was it how you imagined it always to be, or it was different?
I don't think I imagined that. I was so young. All I knew is my life in Russia and that I want to get out of it. And I just got out, and that's it.
So you're like, I made it here, now everything's going to work out.
Yeah. Yes, when people ask me, like, do you like it or not? For example, I was in New York for, like, almost 15 years. I always said, like, I don't judge it. I just love it for what it is. That was my only reply. So.
Everyone's facing adversity and different challenges and stuff happening,
Yeah.
So, we're still working on ourselves, trying to get better, trying to do things better, trying to grow. If you can give advice to your 19-year-old self, what
Yeah.
would be the main advice?
Oh, like maybe don't be so scared. The world is not as scary as you think it is, and believe in your dream that you're gonna get there and go out after your dreams. I kind of did all of that, but while being scared, you know,
So what's the American dream for you?
is to become the number one dietitian in here,
It's a fair dream.
which I'm almost like there. I'm getting there, yeah.
That's nice. I mean, you got a
Yeah.
dream. You're trying to get
And have
somewhere.
multiple residences, obviously.
So that's great. I mean, you started school. You did yoga in between before you started with
Yes, yeah,
dietitian.
yoga saved my life because I was working on Wall Street and it was killing me from inside. So I started doing yoga and then I became a yoga instructor and kind of left. And yeah, yoga kind of brought me back to myself.
How did yoga actually change your perception on the world and stuff and your health?
You know, it brought me. So when I was working on Wall Street, I was so driven by my ego and by my mind that it was all about what it looks like, what it sounds like. I'm on Park Avenue and I'm so busy and I'm doing all these crazy things and I'm so important and I'm competing with man and this is great and like it was just like this rat race that you could never get out of. But inside, I was the furthest away from my true self, my feminine, nurturing, loving, and just, you know, a woman, a happy woman. And then I don't know how I ended up on the yoga mat. I still remember my first yoga class. It was a disaster. I was upside down, standing. I was like, "What are they saying? I can't breathe. What are these words?"
Where's my hand? What am I doing? Where am I moving?
Yes, but then what I noticed is that on that yoga mat, that hour, it was just that hour of it's just me and nothing else existed in the world. It was just me and my body, you know? So I kept coming back for that feeling that for an hour, it's like an active meditation. You can't possibly think about anything else because you're thinking where your ankle is, where all your things, where your limbs are. And with that, you kind of like, whoa, I'm back. And that feeling I had when I was young, because I wasn't allowed to play much sports because I had health issues. So I was swimming a lot. So when I would be swimming in the swimming pool, I also like, I would be in a completely different world. And then when I get out, I'll be like, whoa, I'm back. Where was I for a whole hour? I wasn't thinking and chewing and ruminating on all these, you know, worries, right? So I think that's what yoga has done to me, that it kind of like brought me to my own awareness and to my own priorities list, you know? So when I studied yoga, it kind of started the whole healing process for me. And, you know, and I completely changed my career after that.
So when you coming to US and you meet people, different nationalities, different mentalities, different ideas, perspectives on life, how different is, let's say Russia because you're from there, and USA, and how different were you, and how that evolved over time?
So funny. You know, I mean, it was long ago, and I ended up in somewhat Russian neighborhood in New York. It was a Jewish neighborhood there, and it wasn't about that different. You know, I was blessed that I got married very quickly after arriving. So suddenly I was surrounded by this big family that totally loved me and accepted me. So it wasn't about the difference. It was just about, you know, and for me, I wasn't looking, I was like, oh, I don't think I was comparing, you know? I was just fascinated. I was so open and so young and so fascinated of how they do things and absorbing everything like a sponge, you know? The way they talk, what they say, the jokes, yeah.
What do you think is the difference between Americans and immigrants when they come here? Perception of the world, on life, and different stuff.
The immigrants are definitely more driven, and you could see that. You know, when you're born here, you kind of like, what's here to prove? What's here like to bother? Like I'll get there somehow, one way or another. And for immigrants, very often this is like, I have to get shit done. Like it's all out of the survival. You're moving forward, you're moving along, you're just getting things done. You almost like have to always prove yourself that I am worthy of just as much as everyone else here because I'm so different. I'm not like any one of you. This urge and drive to fit in, to prove yourself, to show up. And I've throughout the school years, I've always said like I work double than most of my American friends because in my head, I first had to make sense of everything I'm reading and then try to memorize it, So, wow, yeah, I just realized that how hard was the school, But yeah, I remembered how for me that was, very challenging, but so rewarding. There's a saying from Alexander Hamilton musical: if you want to get the job done, give it to the immigrant.
Definitely couldn't agree
No, something
more.
like immigrants get the job done. Something like this, yeah.
So I mean, no one's 100% every day. You get up, especially in food, working out, doing stuff, and you're fighting with yourself. What do you do when you're feeling down, when you not feel like doing things properly? How do you help yourself get back on the track?
Well, first I give myself some space to just be there, to overindulge or to do it whatever that I'm doing, and just being very compassionate with myself. And then there's the next day just to bounce back on your, routine that makes you feel better about yourself, and don't be so hard on yourself. I mean, I'm old enough now to not be so hard. I've been so hard on myself my whole life.
Yeah, we learned that thing later on.
Yeah.
First, you're too hard. I mean, I still kind of am, but you just kind of okay. Give yourself at least a little bit of credit for some stuff.
You just know that it's all going to be okay either way. It doesn't, even if you're not 100% today, you still see that you're like 95%, and you're fine. And tomorrow you'll be back to 100.
It's not a straight line. It's a lot of people quit on the way. You think you have a dream, you have great things, and then things not working out, but you're still on the way. Just some obstacles, but some people just quit. I don't want to do this. But if you're that's what differentiates successful people or not. That's why a lot of people are not successful. But there's ways. How when you're so we talked about books earlier.
Yeah.
And books, podcasts. What's the thing you go to listen to so you can help your mind clear or motivate you to do some stuff?
I listen to a lot of psychology. It soothes me. It gives me like permission not to be perfect almost.
It helps when someone else says it. You know it, but
Yeah.
when someone else, you hear someone says it, then it kind of resonates with you.
Yeah.
And then you ponder on it, then you're like, okay, this actually
Also
makes sense.
creativity, like these are some of the things and mindfulness meditation. Someone recently asked me about 3 of my favorite books, and they were one on mindfulness, one on creativity, and one on psychology. And I think those are the 3 things that I find myself. None of those things are about perfection, and all of those things is about like immersing into the process. And I love that. So when I am very hard on myself, I'm just realizing like you don't have to be perfect.
You definitely don't have to,
Yeah.
but we're striving to be perfect, but you don't have to be.
Yeah.
So what do you miss the most from back home?
My parents.
Parents?
Yeah.
So
I
that's
think
the family.
Yeah. And some food, obviously.
Some food.
I'm a foodie. Yeah, the foods and the connection to the nature. And so my parents still grow their own food in the garden, the way they were brought up and the way, it's just like the best food always comes from the garden. So, and I think I miss that. I try to go every summer, and just how in my childhood I cherish this memory so far. I've been also ashamed of my upbringing and of my childhood because, like, we grew up poor, and I didn't see that as something to be proud of, right? I was trying to, like, forget all of this, especially like that in America. I was always, like, comparing myself to all the Americans, and they grew up so, like whether it's like wealthy or abundant or like safe and surrounded by all the luxuries, as I would say, right, having all the things that they need, versus for me it was always like saving or dreaming of the things and like and really like waiting and for a while to get something. And my parents were very poor, so they were growing their own food. But now I'm proud of it because it's come full circle, because this is actually the best way to live, right? When we talk about shopping organic versus GMO, I always say like, no, you should buy from the local farmer and look at his hands and you'll see there's no labels on his foods, and that's better than organic.
People don't even know about it. You know,
Yeah.
but you right now you totally forgot about it, but you're just remembering the tastes and flavors and some stuff
Yeah.
and how healthy it was, and now you're paying attention, especially more and more. And I mean, we all talk about working, jobs, trying to succeed, living the dream. What are your hobbies? What do you do off when you're not working?
My hobbies. I do a lot of sports. I like to stay active. I travel a lot. I love exploring. I love learning new foods, new cultures, being stimulated all the time. And yeah, I read and I spend time with people I care about.
That's what matters. It matters
Yeah.
a lot. I was gonna ask you also. Uh, a lot of it's Miami. I mean, anywhere in the world, people drink a lot. So everyone has problem with hangovers. What's the best cure for hangover? If you already have to get drunk, if you're drinking a lot, what's the best cure?
All right, let's start with you have to get drunk. No, you don't have
No,
to.
some people think they
Okay,
have to. So that's
and then, we will start there. So when you are drinking, ideally, you're drinking water in between because very often we're just reaching for this glass of whether it's wine or a cocktail, and you're actually thirsty because whether it's sweet or the tannins, right? You actually craving water, but because it's not there, like I always tell my clients, rule number one. So for every alcoholic beverage, there should be a glass of water next to it that you drink with it or in between the cocktails. So water and proper hydration actually helps to soothe the effects of a hangover. Another thing with ethanol consumption is never drink alcohol on an empty stomach. This is the worst thing you could do to your metabolism and your overall well-being, because I worked with neuroscientists and they actually give a number of the amount of brain cells that are being killed with every drop of alcohol. And if you consume alcoholic beverages on an empty stomach, it has higher potential to cross the blood-brain barrier and to impact the function of your brain the next day. So I always tell my clients never drink on an empty stomach. Order something, and ideally it's fats, fiber, and proteins. Even if it's a charcuterie board, if it's not like a whole menu, or like menu item, right? It's something like you have to have something that's like nuts or cheese or one of those cold cuts, not just like pretzels, and to help slow down the ethanol absorption and to prevent the damage. And then the next day is obviously hydration, all types of hydration, whether it's pickle juice or bone broth. Those are the most healing. And don't succumb to the junk food cravings.
that's
Try to avoid that.
yeah, that's most people will do.
Yeah,
Especially
'cause
you don't
it's
feel
just
like
like a
cooking, if you're
domino
making
effect from
anything.
there.
A lot of friends they do like green juice in the morning. That I was like, how do you drink celery or like any kind of juice you make in the
That
after?
to some extent balances out the damage.
Well,
Yeah.
how do you actually? I cannot even look at something green when I wake up next day. If it's something that's just me, because
Why not?
Because you drink so much alcohol, you don't feel like drinking anything tomorrow, and then you just need something you think junk food or something gonna help alleviate the situation.
No, the
but it
green
doesn't
juice
at
will
all.
help. The
Juice
green-
definitely. But
Yeah.
for me, it was always like, oh my, I can't make it. If I drink a smoothie right now, I think I'm gonna feel worse. But that's just my perception. It's not right.
When I, for example, overeat dessert, right, for dinner, the next day I have a salad for breakfast.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, to like balance. If I have pasta or like it's like overload of carbs or like unhealthy or like a steak unhealthy, not as nutritionally abundant dinner choices, then for breakfast I'll have a lot of nutrition.
Yeah, I mean, if you eat late, also
Yeah.
that's not good. I noticed you're getting older after you eat later. Oh my God, you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Earlier, I was talking to some younger people. I'm going to have a chicken sandwich and I'm going to bed chicken and rice or something. I'm like, 3 a.m. How are you eating? I will not be able to sleep for a couple hours. But I forgot that actually I could when I was younger. But right now,
Yeah.
I'm getting older. What do you think? How does your recommendation of diet changes for someone
Yeah.
that's older or younger? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a common saying when they say like, how your metabolism slows down as you age.
Is that true?
The truth is, if you take care of things, they last, right? And if you don't, they kind of get, bumped around and they don't really make it too far. So it's very important, and I think that's one of my missions, to educate and to create changes when you're young, because this creates more opportunities to prevent your metabolism slowing down. So what happens is your body can take abuse only so much. And in your 20s, it takes a lot of abuse, right? From whether over like doing all the things, staying up all night and eating whatever you want.
Without you feeling it that much.
You don't, but then you are
Get the
starting to feel
consequences
it
later.
in your 30s. And the problem is not your body's metabolism. The problem is what were you doing in the 20s, you know?
It catches up.
And yeah, and that's when whenever I get a young client in, I'm so excited for that. I was like, look, you have an amazing opportunity to stay young longer because you're starting out early, right? So yeah, it definitely changes, with... or I have older clients who come to me like, I've been eating the same diet my whole life. Why bother now? Why change now, right? And I always say like, look, your body's not the same as it was in your 20s.
You gotta adapt. You gotta change.
So you
some
can't
stuff.
be eating cereal, for dinner as you were when you were 16, So yeah, definitely changes as you get older, and you need to support your hormones that are also changing as you get older accordingly.
There's a lot of energy changes. You think, but it's all related to food, It's,
Not just to food, it's a lifestyle as well.
Yeah,
It's the
that's true.
sleep quality, exercise, stress level, all of these things piling up.
definitely sleep also,
Yeah.
noticeably sleep. But food, how I think about it, if I eat something, and as soon as I eat, if I feel down, I know that was not good for me. That's how I
Yeah.
think
If
about
it's
the
an
food.
immediate right after food,
I never,
it's
if I
for you.
eat salad, maybe add some chicken, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If I eat a steak, after it takes me half an hour to get back to my it's just like, then people drink coffee,
Yeah.
so you can wake yourself up, but
Yeah.
what are you doing? You're just technically thinking you're better, but you're not. You're
Yeah.
not digesting anything. So,
Yeah.
but food affects everyone differently.
Yes, it does. That's why I do food sensitivities and intolerance blood panel for my clients, which really helps to understand your body's response to certain foods. And it's very often surprising, even for me, because I don't know what your body's responding. I mean, you're good. You just told me that, like maybe steak and red meat, too much of it kind of affects you, right? But for some, foods you could never pinpoint. For some clients, it's gluten. For others, it's dairy or something more specific like celery or bananas. I mean, it gives different symptoms, but gluten specifically gives the fatigue or sleepiness or brain fog right after eating. So
Yeah, bread is a big thing, especially in Serbia.
Yeah.
I love bread. Can eat a lot of bread.
but some people are less luckier than
Yeah.
others. They're not able to digest gluten as as
So
well as
It
others.
affects everyone differently. Talk to me about your gut health course that you do.
The gut brain method that I developed over the years. And what it helps me to do is to have that nutrition knowledge and information that I give to my private clients, to have it offered to a bigger audience. So it's a course that I've recorded and I created for people to have access without scheduling consultation with me, which is pricey. And I know only because I do a lot of media work, I'm only at the office 2-3 days a week, but I still want to continue educating the public, and it helps to create the change for people. And what it does is it's a 9-week course, and each week entails a video course on lecture on what they should be doing, and there's a meditation each week which helps to improve, you'll be surprised, your gut health and metabolism because it stimulates your stress response to different things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I already asked you about American Dream, but actually, where do you see yourself in 5 years in your business?
In 5 years in my business, wow, it's going to be a lot of balance between my personal life, which by then I would want to have a big family, and my business. I definitely want to affect as many people as possible. Let's say at least 1 million people graduated from my course and really seen the results. And by then, in 5 years, I would have at least 2-3 bestsellers, books. I have a book coming out next year, which I'm super excited about. It's my first one.
Can you tell us something more about it?
Yeah, it's called The Foodie Diet. So it's basically the non-diet book, a spin-off on the French Women Don't Get Fat, because, I truly believe that there's balance. We don't need to be obsessing over healthy eating. We could still live life to the fullest and travel and, achieve all of our ambitious dreams while eating healthy.
Yeah, amazing. So before we wrap up, is there anything we missed you would like to add? And also tell people where they can find you.
They can find me on Instagram at Ella Davar and at God Brain Method to learn more about my program and the course that I do and that I offer. And my website is nutritionistella.com for more offers. And they could also, watch my TED Talk if they're looking for more specific information related to foods that they should be eating. In my TED Talk, I've covered the foods that love you back, that you should fall in love with as well. So, and yeah, happy to answer any questions for those who are interested in connecting.
Do you think there's anything we missed to add? You want to add something else?
I don't know. I've just been so busy answering questions that I'm just like.
We covered all. We can always
Yeah.
do another one after your book comes out, or
I
we have something might
know,
happening.
Yeah.
This is really interesting.
What do you usually? Because we talked a lot about nutrition. We didn't talk about this much.
This much, it's. Okay, I'll let you ask a question. I was talking in the beginning. I've usually asked
Yeah.
questions, but I'll let you ask one question.
So tell me more about the first generation Americans. How did that come about, and what's the mission?
Mission is to, when you first move here, you encounter a lot of difficulties and a lot of stuff. I mean, you have a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And you
Yeah.
actually, not everyone's lucky to have someone older to give you advice or someone successful, and you're trying to look up to that person. And I was like, you're trying to look for advice, but it's not there. You usually have people that are similar like you, and they're fighting your way through it, and you pay for every mistake you make a lot. So my idea was like, okay, let me get some people who actually managed to achieve something. And they're not like you have like millions and millions of followers. You see those people and they look far. You're like, I cannot become like that person. It looks too far. When you see someone that's like you in 10 years, I was like, okay, I can achieve this. You see, this person did it. And just so you can get advice from them and to help them believe it's possible.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to believe it's possible, because when difficult things happen, I have some stuff that I read, books, podcasts, that actually some people that resonated with me. And I was like, okay, I was trying to get all of that, to get that out of me and get it out of other people, so we can actually help someone. That's the main idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I admire the work that you do because, there's so many stories that are inspiring. I've started over in 2 countries, right? Moving from Russia to America, and then start over with a new career completely from scratch, and then starting over, moving from from New York to Miami, right? And it takes a lot of courage and strength, and being an immigrant, I feel like our job is to find the blessing in the challenge and in the hardship, because that's what makes us who we are. And it's so unique that most Americans look at us, and that's just beyond their understanding. How can you move away from your family to another country without speaking the language? For them, it's like something crazy, and for you, this is life. Like, I've always had people like, oh, that must have been hard, right? Like, moving. And I was like, I don't know, it's my life, and I don't define my life as hard. Like, it just doesn't feel
It's just
good.
life.
It's just
You're
my
gonna miss it if
life.
you just
Yeah.
I don't like. I mean, everyone complains.
Yeah.
That's my always goal, not to complain
Yeah.
about anything that's happening, because we just keep people complaining, people listening
Yeah.
to each other. No one listens. They just if someone says, "Oh, I have this," the other people, "Oh yeah, I have this." No one actually listens to anyone. They just talk their own problems. The mirror
Yeah.
syndrome. You're just waiting until some other people, some other person says something, and then you say your own stuff.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. A lot of difficulties and a lot of stuff you got to go through. And hopefully people some find words of encouragement and stuff.
Yeah.
It just really, it means a lot. Of just, I feel good if someone says, okay, yeah, I've seen this and it resonated with me. That's one of the, and I feel good
I'm
about it.
so grateful that you invited me. I really, truly admire what you do.
Thank you.
And
I'm so
best
happy.
of luck with it.
I'm so happy that you find time. I know it's
Yeah.
busy. People understand, how complicated it is to manage schedules. You do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff, and then you're trying to find time and do all of this. And it's. I'm really, really happy that people actually find time to come talk to me like you did today. And it's such a short notice with you. Actually, it was
Yeah.
not. I remember I was some Serbian guy from Australia. He moved to Australia when he was really young, and then he lived there for like from 4 years old, I think, to like 34. And then he had a family and everything in Australia. And then he has godfather. He was talking to him. Oh, let's meet up next week. Oh, actually, I'm busy. Can we do week after? I was like, no, but I can't do week after. Can we do week after? So it took him 3 weeks to meet with his godfather. He just one day was like, I'm not going to do this. So he just moved to Serbia after being born and raised in Australia because the timing. But some people don't know how to manage time, which is not also not another thing. So that's the difficulties in US. So if I'm so glad that you did it on such a short notice, and I know you're busy, and I'm glad the schedule worked out. But it's time because time is back home. People have a lot of time but no money. Here people have money and no time, and there's no balance.
And that's the trade-off that you gotta make, And we all have time for things
We're not
that
managing
matter,
time properly. That's
that
the
matter
thing.
to us.
There's a lot of distractions, but
What's your advice for time management?
time management.
Get off social media.
For me, that's also say because for me, let's say a couple of months ago, I was like, Instagram. Let me just take it off for a while.
Wow.
2 months, I finished 3 heavy books, big ones that I had for a year open. I started a little bit, a couple of pages, because that's just scrolling 2 hours.
I admire that. Yeah.
And it's difficult, but for me, I managed, and I was like, okay, this is doable because you look through videos for 2 hours. What did you learn? Nothing. I don't remember what I've seen for 2 hours. And every day, 2 hours.
And or the opposite, I go to bed and I have all these flashbacks from all these things that I just saw, and I was like, why is this part of this like trash or like junk, like all this junk in my mind? I was like, I don't want to do this. Please God, make me unwatch this or unsee this, that I just saw on Instagram.
It's too fast.
Someone's,
different
nonsense.
Videos. I started actually. It's difficult. Then you're not on your phone before you go to bed. If you read a book, a couple of pages, book puts you to sleep. Immediately. Not some I try not to do motivational stuff, something that you like, something relaxing. I like history a lot, so that's my thing, so I read that, and it helps me. There's no, when you go to bed, when you're trying to sleep, there's no music, there's no video in the background in your head, so this is just, you don't, nothing. Just book helps you if you can do it. But you're tired, I can't read, but you can look through the video, you're tired. Sometimes my eyes are like, as soon as I open the book, couple pages, I'm like, I disappear. No melatonin and no addition, nothing to sleep. You just
works
go.
like magic.
So everyone has to find their own thing.
Advice.
But you got to find your own niche, whatever works for you. Not everything. Like your advice on diets and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own specific thing.
Yeah.
Something works for everyone, but a lot of things don't. So you gotta, like the food. I notice when I eat something, if it's good for me or not.
Yeah.
And I start paying attention. When I was younger, I didn't know about that. No one, when you're growing up, no one was like, oh, you feel good after eating this, or you should. My mom would just, here goes some fruits, eat this, eat that. Yeah. It's not, no one pays attention. Then you learn on the way, okay, something is not working out. Yeah. So it's really.
So do you usually talk about like immigration or the actual?
No, actually, immigration, this is mostly about immigrant journey. How people, trying to get, when you get here already.
How did you learn English?
Actually, in Serbia, we had it in school. Okay. But I was always good at it. I don't know how, it just always came naturally. Here, it took me 2 months, and I just had to put the words together because you don't practice a lot. Mm-hmm. I knew all of it, and then it just clicked. It clicked so easy, It's a lot of people, they live here for 15 years, don't speak nothing. I was like, put some effort in it. I'm trying, I'm reading, I'm doing stuff so I can get it better. But here in Miami, you learn Spanish. I speak Spanish a lot. Serbian. I switch back and forth. Sometimes my accent. I'm talking to people. Serbian, you speak like from here, and English, it's like Spanish. It's almost from your mouth. It's just different sounding. So after I speak Serbian, I switch to English. I have a deeper voice, and my accent sounds tougher.
Wow.
When I speak, so it's really, you have to. Then after a couple of sentences, I kind of loosen up, so that really affects that's at least for me.
So funny, I'm just thinking, I think English is definitely
so nicer, smoother.
Russian is like from here.
Yeah, so people think of Serbia when we talk that we're fighting. People say, oh, you're fighting. I was like, no, we're just talking. Yeah. That's nothing. But you just sound scary, for some people. But it's different. I love languages, even Spanish here in Miami. I learned Spanish. No one speaks English. You gotta go back and forth between everything. You gotta adapt. But it's nice.
What's your advice for first generation Americans that are watching?
What's my advice? Watch this show. That's the first advice. So definitely believe you can do it. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dream. Just push through it. Do stuff. Work on it. And it takes a while. It's not gonna be an easy journey, and don't expect results, because we expect results as soon as you get here. You expect it's gonna happen in a year. It's not gonna happen. It might happen for someone. But you got to put effort. Whatever you're doing.
It's so humbling when I say that. And I had to learn it myself. when I started doing certain projects, and I was like, it's not gonna happen from the first time. And then when I see people reach out to me, like these brands that are just starting their journey and they just want me to create content for them that's just gonna kill it for them and create, and I had to like humble them. I was like, it's not gonna happen from one post that I do for you, right? And what I'm saying is like, yeah, it's not gonna happen from the first time. People don't like to hear that.
No,
But the
definitely.
consistency, that's what creates
Everything is faster. Everyone expects everything fast. One video you can make it can blow up, and then you
Yeah.
have millions of views. And then you make the next one, and it has 100 views, and then you get depressed with high expectations. But not everything is.
Yeah.
It's so easy achievable. You got to give yourself time. You got to set a goal for a couple of years ahead.
Keep putting in the effort. I like that.
So that's my take on it. Anyhow, I really enjoyed it. Conversation. Hopefully,
Thank you.
let's talk about your podcast that you're about to do. That's what we talked about.
No, right? But I'm gonna need to like hire a team and.
No, it's not that complicated. We'll make it simple. We'll help you out. It's gonna be great. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe.